guys, it's Izzy here, and today we're going to be talking about my reading plans for the month of December. Let's get into it. December is always like a really random month for my TBR for me, because usually in the fall I do get to my reading goal, which in November I did. So my goal for 2021 was to read 72 books. I'm currently at 75 books, so I'm free to read whatever I want now. There's no pressure, so I don't really know what I want to read. I'm somebody who always goes in with a set TBR, but for December it's usually reading whatever I want, and that is scary. So I do have 3 books that, well, 2 I know that I am going to read this month, and then I have 2 other ideas of what I may read this month. So let me know, what genre do you guys associate with December? For me, I think heavy fantasy, epic fantasy, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, just there's something cozy about reading that when it's cold outside and just reading a nice long book, because you get to be under the blankets longer maybe. So I associate fantasy with this time of year, and always, as I said, this is the time that I get to choose what I read, so I do pick these big books since I don't really have a limit on myself. In 2019 I read Priory of the Orange Tree, in 2020 I read Fire and Blood, so this is always the time where I pick big fantasy novels, and I do have one here, so I will be showing that. The first one, I actually started this book today, and it is The Holiday Swap by Maggie, Knox. So all they want for Christmas is a different life. So I don't associate romance with December, but this is a Christmas one, so it would make sense to read it in December. So I am 15% of the way in. So we have Charlie Goodwin, who is like a celebrity chef on TV, and she gets a concussion when like all these pots and pans fall on her head. But she does have a twin sister. So Charlie is supposed to be on bed rest, all of that. So she switches places with her sister Cass, because this time of year she absolutely needs to have the show going, because this is their 12 days of Christmas with their Christmas recipes and all of that. So Cass comes down to LA to replace her sister on the show, and then Charlie goes up to Starlight Peak, which is their hometown about 4 hours north of Los Angeles, to work at the family's bakery. So they swap lives for a little while, and there is romance that is going to ensue. So I just looked at this. One of them, who I'm assuming is Jake, low-key looks like one of my crushes. But yeah, so I am 15% of the way in. Don't really have much thoughts yet, but be sure to watch my wrap-up at the end of the month if you want to know my thoughts. So the next book does fall into that heavy fantasy that I was talking about earlier, and that is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Guang. So I read The Poppy War in November. I did the audiobook, so I'm still going to continue doing the audiobook, even though this time of year, in December, I usually read physically, because as I said, I have a lot of time. But I am going to do the audiobook since that is the way that I started the series. So this is the second book in the series. So I can't tell you exactly what this book is about, but I can tell you the first one. So we have Ren, who she is an orphan who is adopted by a family in the poorer part of their country. It's a Chinese-inspired fantasy. And she doesn't want to marry a man who is like 3 times her age. So the way out of that is to get an education. So she beats all odds and gets into this high-ranking military school. She chooses the military school because it is the only one that is free for her to go to. So she goes there, and it's just about her life of coming from that poor upbringing to becoming this amazing warrior and all of that. So this is the second one. I really enjoyed the first one. Be sure to check out my review. My link to my blog is in the description of the video if you would like to see my review for the first book. And I'm super excited to continue this trilogy. I'm not sure how long this book is. Oh, this is a long one. I just got it in the mail. Like, I went to my mailbox before this. So this is 654 pages. And ooh, now we have a list of all the characters in the back, which should be really nice, because that was something with this one group of assassins in the first book. I feel like they weren't very developed and I was getting them confused. So it is good to have that list of characters. The next book is another series that I might continue, but those two I know for a fact I want to get to. This kind of does fall into our fantasy but historical fiction as well, and that is Dragonfly and Amber by Diana Gabaldon? I never know how to say her last name. But this is the second book in the Outlander series, so I will annotate I think I annotate the mass market paperbacks, but I buy hardback ones as well just because I prefer those on my shelves. And I do the ebook of it. So again, this is a sequel. So Claire Randall is on a honeymoon with her husband Frank in Scotland, and in the 1940s, I should say, after the war. And she goes around exploring and goes to like a stone circle like Stonehenge, and puts her hand, after a druid ceremony, puts her hands on the stone and travels back in time to the 1700s, which that time in Scotland is not a very safe time because there is the Jacobite stuff happening. So Scotland does not want to be a part of the United Kingdom, and they're trying to get away with that to put a Stuart back on the throne, Bonnie Prince Charlie, and all of that. So this is, again, another really big book. Yeah, this is over 900 pages. So I don't know if I really want to read this one this month, but I feel like I should continue this series. But it may be a thing that I do start next year in January with A Game of Thrones, which you can see there. I read the ebooks for, and I would read 3 chapters every night. So I might just do that going into January. I'm not sure yet though. And then the other book is right here, and it is Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. This is a historical fiction, so no fantasy elements whatsoever, and that's the only reason why I'm hesitant to pick it up. Again, you can see it is quite the large book. This takes place at the start of the last century, the 20th century. We have World War I happening. We have all this coal mining stuff happening in Wales, like protests and strikes and all of that. Women's suffrage, Russian Revolution, all of this stuff was happening, and all our characters go around that and are somehow associated. We have characters in like Russia, Wales, America, all different settings. But again, it doesn't fit the fantasy theme that I have for December, but it is a book I really want to get to because that is a time period that I just really want to read a lot of and watch stuff of. I did start Downton Abbey, so I am watching that. But it's a time period that I feel like we don't see a lot in fiction. We see so much for World War II, but not for World War I. It's just a time period I'm fascinated by because like my ancestors, well, obviously all our ancestors were living then, but those are the ancestors that I didn't get to meet, so I want to know what their lives were like, and I feel like we can get that through fiction. And that's another thing with Outlander, where this takes place in Scotland, my Scottish ancestors were in the county over, so that's nice to have kind of an idea of how they lived. And then there are some other things that I can relate to my ancestors, but I'm not going to say in this video because it may be spoilers if you haven't read the books or seen the series. And then this one just registered into my mind. There is Once Upon a Time by Quentin Tarantino that he released the novel of recently. And for some reason, that book just has me hyped. I'm in such a 60s mood as well. And that book obviously takes place in the late 1960s. And I am currently rewatching the movie, but I'm doing it like I'm watching a show kind of. I'm watching just 45 minutes at a time. And that way, I've just enjoyed it so much more than when I watched it the first time. So yes, I am enjoying it a lot more, and I'm just really enjoying it. So I kind of want to pick up the book, but I don't know if I should. I don't know, but my two ones that are set in stone are The Holiday Swap and The Dragon Republic. So these are the two books I know that I'm going to read in December. I'm not sure about the others, so tell me in the comments, what are your reading plans for December? What genre do you associate with December? And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. I am going to be doing Vlogmas on my channel, so there will be vlogs every Monday and Friday. So be sure to turn on those notifications, ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. Bye!